So yeah, the Wrangler Duratreks are going to find a new home. Somebody who lives a little farther south than me is going to love these tires and enjoy them. You know, they are really great overall. They look really good. They've balanced out pretty well. They do take weight because, you know, all Goodyear tires take weight, but they do balance. They do roll smooth down the road. Off-road, they're awesome. You know, and in deep snow, I've had pretty good luck with them also, but it's just when the roads get wet or when you get that compacted snow on the roads, I just don't have any luck with them. And unfortunately, I'm in a spot right now with this truck where that's what I really need. I need good foul weather traction. So like I said, they're good tires. They're really great tires, and somebody else is going to love these. But for now, I'm going to start rocking these Falkens. All right, guys, let's do yet another tire review. What do you say? So these are the Falken WildPeak AT3WA. That's a mouthful. So a little backstory on this tire. Sumitomo was the parent company. They had an all-terrain tire called the WildPeak AT. It was really popular, but it had a really weird tread pattern that honestly just wasn't very good. If you remember those from back in the early 2010s, when those would wear down about 50%, they basically became racing slicks. There was no siping or grooves or anything left in that tread pattern. It basically became a worthless tire. But the strange thing about it is it was kind of popular because at that time, the Falken brand was really starting to do a lot of advertising in the off-road world. And the tire did have really good construction. It had beefy sidewalls and it was just a really great tire, but the tread pattern kind of sucked. So they went back to the drawing board, and in the winter of 2016, they came out with the AT3W. The 3W is supposed to be in reference to various types of weather, you know, winter, great wear, you know, that kind of thing. And I was one of the first guys that had the opportunity to review that tire back in 2016, put those on an F-150 crew cab, four-wheel drive truck, put a lot of miles on them. At like 25, 30,000 miles, they were wearing perfectly evenly. They had amazing traction. The tread pattern was awesome. And they really did a good job on that tire. It became my favorite tire. And out of all of the tires I've reviewed over the years, that one is still at the very top of my list. It's still, in my opinion, the #1 all-terrain tire that you can buy, even today. You know, here we are, 6, 7 years later, it's still the best all-terrain tire on the market, in my opinion. In fact, it got so popular that Jeep started to use it as factory equipment on the Rubicon models. Well, because of how great that tire was, I guess Ram, and I don't know if any of the other OEs use these or not, but I know Ram does. I guess they went to Falken and they were like, hey, we love this all-terrain tire that you guys have, but we need to kind of tweak it just a little bit. We'd be interested in using it as a, you know, factory tire on our pickup truck, but we need to tweak it a little bit for OE, you know, purposes. And I guess that's kind of where this tire came from. It's the WildPeak AT3WA. And it's just like the AT3W, but the difference, the one that has the letter A on the end, the difference is that obviously it's an OE version. They have tweaked the tread pattern just a little bit. I'm going to bring the camera over so you can see this if you haven't already seen this tire. And they also made a few changes to the construction of the tire. But I just wanted to talk about this version of the WildPeak, you know, the OE version, and how well it has been doing. So as you can see, the snow is starting to melt and go away finally. And we've had one heck of a storm here, guys. Let me have a seat here and show you this tire up close. And we had wind chills that were down around -30. The actual air temperature was well below 0. The road's completely covered in snow and ice. And this tire right here, the AT3WA, did an amazing job. So yeah, the Duratreks are a great tire all around. Very beefy, nice looking tire. They rolled smooth down the road. They're great off-road. But where the Duratrek was kind of letting me down was in foul weather traction. You know, when the weather gets bad out on the road, I just wasn't real happy with the Duratrek. This tire right here is amazing. Even in the snow and I'm talking about compacted snow too, where it gets really slippery, almost like ice. I was really surprised at how well these tires do. They really hook up like a cat on carpet. Excuse me there, I had a coughing spell there for a moment, but anyway, yeah, this tire has amazing traction. Now this particular tire, this one has 30,000 miles on it. Now when these are brand new, they're advertised at 14-30 seconds. I don't know if the camera's gonna pick this up, but I've got this one at 8:30 seconds of tread. So, you know, it's lost about 6:30 seconds in 30,000 miles of driving, which, whoo, camera wasn't focused, sorry. Which for an OE tire is not bad. So you can see that the design on the sidewall, maybe you can see that, is the same as the aftermarket version, and it's just a little bit less aggressive, a little bit milder. This tire with the A on the end, the OE version, has a slightly less robust construction. The purpose for that is to keep the weight down, guys. They have the, you know, the aftermarket version is pretty heavy because it's so beefy. It's got 2-ply sidewalls, but those sidewalls are really thick. It's got very aggressive tread. It's a heavy tire. That's what you want if you're off-road or if you're really beating on your truck, hauling and towing. You want an aggressive and robust tire. This one does a great job, but they kept the weight down on purpose by changing the construction just a little bit. And what that does is obviously it helps with fuel economy. Anything that an OE is going to put on a truck is going to be geared toward fuel economy, okay? We all know that. So that's why they came up with this version, this OE version. You can see how the center tread blocks have been turned to be a little bit more parallel to the way the tire spins. The outer tread here kind of resembles the aftermarket version, but they have tweaked it just a little bit, you know, to make it a little bit more highway friendly while still keeping some of that all-terrain characteristic. But main thing I wanted to stress was just how great this tire has been doing in all of this snow and ice and bad weather that we've had. These things are just amazing. They do a great job, just as well, in my opinion, as the aftermarket version, which also does an amazing job. I think that these are the best all-terrain tires that you can buy right now. I really do. If I get over here at this angle, you can see that it does have a white outline here on the lettering. So, you know, some people like that. I think the other side is black. So if you didn't like that, you could turn them around. They do make a little bit of noise out on the road. They're not perfectly silent, but you wouldn't expect an all-terrain tire to be perfectly silent. You know, we've seen these trucks and these wheels that have these tires on them from the factory. They've been out for a while, and, you know, a lot of guys have had pretty good luck with them. These are the ones that you want if you're one of these guys who's not planning on changing your tires as soon as you buy your truck. This is the one you want, because most of these trucks, especially the ones that don't have any kind of off-road package, come with the Bridgestone Duelers, and those tires, as you've already seen earlier this summer, are absolute garbage. So if you're going to get one of these trucks with 20-inch wheels, or 18s for that matter, and you're not planning on changing the tires until they're completely worn out, try to get one that has these Falcons on it, because I'm telling you, this tire is really, really good for an OE tire. I'm just curious about these rear ones. So the guy that I bought these from, it was pretty obvious to me when I got these tires home that he had not been rotating them very often. So these, you can see they have about 11:30 seconds. So they've got quite a bit more tread left back here. And I think what he had been doing is, you know, the rear tires on a pickup truck take a lot more beating. You know, they're pushing the truck, they're pulling the truck, they're doing some braking on the truck. It seems to me, you know, in my experience, that the rears wear down quite a bit faster than the fronts on these trucks. And I think that he had been running those on the rear, these on the front, and he had not been rotating them very often. Because like I just showed you, these have 2:30 seconds more tread on them. So when I put them on the truck, I put the good ones in the rear to try and even them back out, and then I can start doing normal rotations on them. So yeah, when I was doing the review on the aftermarket version, you know, several years ago, that's kind of what launched this channel, honestly. I couldn't believe how many views those videos were getting. Seemed like the Falken WildPeak AT3W was a really popular tire, and everybody wanted to know, you know, do they last? How do they wear? What's the traction like in bad weather? A lot of people at that time hadn't really heard of this brand yet, and so those videos really kind of launched this channel. And it's interesting that we have now an aftermarket, slightly tweaked version of that tire. And but I'm happy to report that they do just as good of a job. Now, off-road, if you're going to go out in the mud, you know, and crawl around on some trails, obviously this tire isn't going to be quite as good as the aftermarket version, but it's not intended to be. This is intended to be a little bit more of a compromise, but I'm telling you, this thing still does an amazing job. You know, I just can't stress that enough. I was very surprised at how well this truck stuck to the roads. I mean, we're talking cars and trucks just slid off the road left and right going down some of the highways out here the other day. I saw a couple of pickup trucks rolled on their sides and upside down. It's one of those days where you really hate to even be out unless you have to be. But this truck just went straight down the road and didn't give me any trouble at all with these tires on it. So Falken, if you're listening, if you got some people from Falken out there watching this video, thank you guys for making such great tires. These things are awesome. And probably I'm going to get another set of these, maybe in a little bit larger size, which means I'd have to go to the aftermarket version, which is fine with me. But next time around, I'm probably going to at least stick with this brand because they just do so well. So anyway, there you go. If you're shopping some of these trucks and you're looking and you're noticing that they have different tires on them, some have Goodyear, some have Bridgestone, some have these Falkens on them. You're wondering, you know, should I pay any attention to that? Yeah, I think you should. I think you should try and get one of these Rams that has the Falkens on it. You won't be disappointed. All right, guys, I got some stuff to do. Got to assemble a new toolbox and get my garage cleaned up here after Christmas. So thanks for watching. We'll talk to you later.